Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrew. Today we're going to be making two different kinds of aprons. I've been a little bit more into cooking lately, which is fun, except that the other week I had a really bad experience where I sprayed hot oil all over a shirt that I really liked. Don't worry, no shirts were harmed in the process of making this video. However, I did have to wash it right away and that was really annoying. So I thought, what if I could make an apron myself? At first I thought I would do a leather apron because I do a lot of leather crafting here on my channel. I'm not an expert, but I enjoy it. And it would also be really easy to wipe down. So in that situation, I could just like grab a paper towel, wipe it down. We are gonna do that today. However, in my research, pulling things for inspiration for this video, I found another apron as well that had just some leather straps on it. And I found some leather suspenders in my stock box that I thought would be awesome for that. So we're gonna do the rest of it. I think that apron was made of canvas, but I'm gonna pull some denim from my denim stock box and see if we can make an apron out of the jeans and the leather suspenders. So two different projects today. Let's jump on in. For the denim apron, I grabbed a pair of jeans that I had on hand and the leather suspenders that I mentioned, as well as a coordinating braided belt that I thrifted that was long enough to fit loosely around my hips. For the leather apron, I thrifted two black belts to work with this leather jacket and some leftover black leather pieces from other projects. I was actually planning to use this jacket in the painted leather jackets video before I realized that the zipper was broken. The leather in this jacket is very thick, which is perfect for this project given that we'll be leaving a raw edge. We'll mostly be using the back of the jacket, so I'll save the pocket details and the sleeves and such for something else. For tools and extras, I used good fabric scissors, a seam ripper, pointy scissors and an awl, more on that later, a block of scrap wood, straight pins, leather glue, a hammer, a nail file, and sewing clips or office clips in my case. I also pulled out the rivet set that I used many moons ago for my harnesses video. Let's start as usual by ripping things apart to see what we're working with. I generally seam rip everything rather than cutting in order to get as much fabric as possible and to be able to work off the seam lines in the existing garment. This is particularly effective for denim and leather given how it creases and can be distressed. It makes the new garment look like it's always been that way, you know? However, for the jeans, I rushed a little bit and ripped a hole in them, so I switched over to cutting instead. Here we are with the bones of what will be our leather apron. I split open the back of the jacket. I'm mostly gonna use this whole back panel. This part used to be connected up there, but I wanted to put this insert here. This is a collar of another piece that I wanted to have a little bit of extra length, so we're gonna insert that in the center. I have my belt here that I'm gonna cut apart and attach at the sides for the waistband. And then up here at the top, I have, this was a waistband on another jacket, and so we're gonna make that the top panel to be slightly reinforced. And then I'm gonna create a little belt myself to use with this buckle. So those are sort of all the components that we're gonna work with on the leather. And here you can see I cut open the inside seam and the front crotch on this piece so that I can lay everything nice and flat. This seam was taken apart already before they came to me. We're actually gonna put that back together so we'll have one flat panel across. This was opened up so that it can lay down nice and flat. We'll cut straight across the bottom of that to make the bottom half of the apron, and then we'll make the top part out of the legs of the jeans here. And then you can see I'll have the suspenders that will be the top strap that will connect down to the back. And then I have this belt that will feed through the center there to create a waistband. And we're ready to start assembling. I actually worked back and forth between the two aprons throughout, but for the purposes of continuity, let's start on the denim apron first. I sewed up the side seams back how they used to be, and then pinned and sewed one side of the crotch curve over the other, turning it under where the raw edge was. Now I have one flat panel of fabric for the skirt of the apron. I measured down from the waistband at various points on one side to create a slight curve that I cut along to even out the bottom. Then I fold that over to the other side to ensure symmetry. I can lay everything out to get a sense of the finished shape. For the top, I attach the two front leg pieces right sides together and create a flat rectangle. Then I place the two back leg panels at an angle starting about 1.5 inches from the top. After measuring to make sure I got both sides even, I pin them in place and top stitch to attach them. Now we can cut away the excess fabric behind. I folded the top under twice using the creases where the hem of the jeans had been and sewed right along the existing seam line. I could have done a better job lining these up, but whatever. Back to the skirt piece to cut down the sides. I cut vertically just outside the front pockets and then folded it to do the same on the other side. Then I turned the raw edges under to create a more finished edge. However, since the waistband was so bulky, I opted to just cut away the excess and leave that edge raw. I was naively hoping that my belt would fit inside the waistband of the jeans, but no such luck. So I went ahead and laid the skirt piece over the top piece and top stitched along the upper existing seam of the waistband to attach the two while disguising the seam. Now I flipped it over and used the excess for the top piece to create a pocket for the belt to sit inside. I switched over to my edging foot for this to sew as close as possible to the belt. After cutting off the excess, we now have a functional waistband. I also quickly ran a seam along the bottom hem. I'm okay with it being raw, but I don't want it to fray too much. For these suspenders, initially I was thinking that I was going to try to attach them here at the top, sort of like the one in the picture. And the issue with that is that the suspenders are much too long. And so either I would have to adjust them so that they were quite a bit higher, and then they would have much more loop on them, which I tried that and I didn't like the way that it looked. So then I also considered taking them apart here and shortening them, like cutting out a big chunk. However, I really don't trust myself to be able to sew it back together. This is pretty thick leather. So then I had a different idea. What if I ran it all the way along this edge right here and sort of found that curve so that it would connect down here at the bottom where that other leather piece is, and that would create sort of like a border almost, and then it would go back over the top. So I think that's what I'm gonna try. I'll end up hand sewing that on probably, but you guys know I don't mind hand sewing, so I think that'll be the right decision in this case. But if you're doing something similar, just be aware that you have lots of options here. After pulling the leather strips from the bottom loops and sewing a small seam in the doubled elastic piece to create a loop for my belt, all the pieces are in place. I went in and hand sewed along here. I was kind of lucky with this that it had these holes built in already, so I just went, you can see really close up, I sewed down the holes down towards the bottom. If your suspenders are more solid than this, then maybe the method that I'm going to use on the leather apron will work a little bit better. We're actually going to do some glue and then poke holes and do little rivets. That's the term, rivets. So the first thing that we're going to do here is assemble these pieces so that they're all in one sheet. I ordinarily would sew right sides together, but because of the amount of seam allowance that's at certain places, like right here, there's hardly any at all. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just overlap this one over that and top stitch along, and then do the same thing here, overlapping this one over here and top stitching along there. I think that will hold well enough and make everything look nice and smooth. For all my seams this time, I started by gluing to hold the piece in place without pins or clips. I laid it flat and used some moderately heavy objects to weigh it down across larger areas. And repeat. Although I'm probably still not doing all the correct things for sewing leather, I did pull out my leather foot this time and set my stitch length a little bit longer than usual. This combo, along with the absence of any pins or clips, helped everything to glide through nicely. Consulting the product measurements on my model apron, I drew out a shape on one side using chalk. Note that I kept the sleeves attached until now so that I was able to grab a couple key inches of the side curves. Now for the scary part. I carefully cut along the lines I drew. These edges will be raw, so I need the cut to be really precise. The side seams of the jacket were right where the side of my apron needed to be, so I cut right along the holes where the seam had been. I fold in half and repeat on the other side. I also cut the top straight across as high as I could using the seam allowance since that'll go inside that top band anyway. I opened up one side of this belt from another jacket and sandwiched it around my top edge. I kept the existing interfacing for a bit of added padding and stiffness, but I had to cut some of it away to get the glue in the right spots. I also glued down anything that was pulling apart after the cuts. Once it was dry, I could cut off the excess and sew along to make everything permanent. I have this cheapy belt that I got at Goodwill because there weren't any other options there, and I thought that I could make this work. However, it's just a little stiff and it's not actually real leather, so I removed the buckle and I'm gonna cut a strip of leather right here from the inside of the sleeve on both sides and then sew that together. Again, it's nice with this leather that it's thick enough and not very stretchy that I think I can just cut it and have that act as a belt rather than having to like turn it under and like sew something. So I think this is the best option. Using the existing belt as a template, I cut two 1-inch strips from the sleeves. I cut a hole to insert the buckle before gluing and sewing it in place. Then I sew the two strips right sides together before gluing down the seam allowances. Now that I have a solid strip, I try the whole piece on the form to figure out where to cut it. Here, I've lined things up so that the seam in my strip is right at the center back. I want the left side to stop just before the top panel seam, and the buckle piece on the right side with the longer strap coming down. Once the lengths feel right, I glue the long strap to the left and the short piece with the buckle to the right. Once I make a hole at the right spot on the long strip, I can buckle it up and complete the strap. Almost there. For the waist strap, I measure, draw, and cut the super thick belt fairly short by the buckle end. I used a nail file to smooth out the curve just a little bit. I try it on to see how long it should be, then cut the other side so that the tail of the belt will reach around to the buckle at the right spot. And then I glue both ends in place. Since it would be impossible to sew through the waist belt and I like the look of the model apron, I made some holes and inserted 2 eyelets at each joint. These will provide supplemental strength for the glue and add a little interest. So I just finished up both aprons and I am like over the moon excited. I can't wait to show you guys. 2 takeaways from this video. I'm always trying to give little tips here. Most importantly, leather glue has changed my life. Yeah, you guys know that I purchased the leather glue for the lace-up grommeted leather jacket, and this was my first time actually using it as sort of a sewing tool to hold things in place while I sewed. And wow, I wish I had had this when I did the leather jumpsuit. That was such a difficult project, and with the glue, everything just moved so much smoother. Using the leather foot was helpful again this time too, but the glue was really the life changer. Also, mixed feelings on the awl situation. Also in that same video where I was poking a million holes in the jacket, I ended up using mostly these pointy orange scissors. And although the awl was helpful for some of the holes, for other ones I had to end up using the orange scissors anyway because the awl just was not doing it for me. So awl is a maybe, leather glue is a yes, do it. Hello and welcome to my cooking show. We are now gonna put these aprons to the ultimate test, the white t-shirt challenge. Let's see how they hold up. Prep is done. Time for a wardrobe change. Part 2. So I'm over here using a dish towel as an oven mitt. Should we DIY an oven mitt next? And dinner is served. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, if you like this project, go ahead and hit the like button. Let me know that you were feeling it. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, more content, more projects, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're notified every time that I upload a new project. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you.